Where we do not have success and will not have success is in Syria. And that has to do with the fact that our country has only talked about Syria insofar as we should either arm people or not arm people. And I submit to you that is a level of engagement that is inadequate to what our country should be involved in. We need to be able to say, as we did in Bosnia a year and a half before Dayton, we said in Bosnia, Bosnia shall consist of two entities. There shall be a Serb entity, there shall be a federation entity, which itself will be an amalgamation of Muslims and Croats. We laid it all out, and all we did at Dayton in those 21 days and nights, all we did at Dayton was to elaborate this so-called contact group plan. Where is the contact group plan for Syria? Why have we failed completely to say what it is we'd like to see Syria look like in the future? Why can't we have our Secretary of State get up and say, here's the U.S. view on Syria, let's say 10 years from now. We would like that Syria is within its existing borders. I think that's important because a lot of people say, well, why don't we change the borders? You know, they were stupidly done by these stupid French and British diplomats. Show me a border change and I'll show you another war. So, one, borders stay the same. Two, Syria should be heavily decentralized in a canton system. Any second-year law school student could figure out what it might look like in a constitutional context. Three, you might have a parliament which you don't need elections in Syria because you know the Sunnis are going to win. They're some 60% of the population. So that would be the lower chamber, or people's chamber. And then an upper chamber, you might have a chamber of nationalities or a chamber of sectarian identities, and a combination of which, say, 3 of them could veto a lower chamber, something like that. This is not to say that this would be, that everyone would jump onto this bandwagon, but it is to have something out there that we can say we support the contact group plan for Syria, and we have completely failed to do that. And instead, we have dumbed this all down to this desultory discussion of whether we should be arming the moderates. First of all, it's a little theoretical, what with there not being any moderates there. Secondly, the last thing Syria needs is more weapons on the battlefield. Thirdly, let's assume moderates. I sound like an economist here. Assume the moderates. So we're going to have them defeat ISIS. By the way, I would call the Iraqi army moderates, and they've had a heck of a time defeating ISIS. So one, they would defeat ISIS. Two, they would go after al-Nusra. And 3, they would defeat Bashar al-Assad's forces, and 4, they would agree on a victory parade into downtown Damascus. The last discussion of which I think would be probably more bloody than the first 3 battles. But the point being, this is not where the United States should be in this discussion. We should be laying out what we feel and work with others, and I would even work with the Russians on this. You know, that is a country that I think has taken a giant leap backwards, and we're going to have huge problems in the next generation dealing with Russia. So can we maybe find a couple of areas to work with? And let's start with Syria.